Welcome in everyone to the Vault, a Ravens podcast, being temporarily hosted by me, Glenn Martin, and my co-host James Haskell. Typically find us at 410 Sports Talk on YouTube, but filling in for Sarah and Bobby as they are out doing bigger and better things here. And so shout out to them for inviting us over to co-host and kind of fill in while they're out. But first and foremost, Jimbo, how you doing today?
Doing good, man. Really excited because we got a ton to talk about, even though it's the bye week. Gracious to Sarah and Bobby for letting us hang out and take over the channel for a while. We're looking forward to it. Buckle in, ladies and gentlemen. It's about to be a wild ride. Certainly going to be, I'm sure, a bit different, but certainly we're all here to talk about the Ravens. So let's go, baby.
Let's get it. And we'll start with, I saw Douglas had a super chat before we even went live here saying, Sarah, once again, I will be away in the field coordinating development of people's new homes, but wanted to show my love and support. Thanks for trying to keep us sane through all this. Well, I'm sure Sarah will see these sentiments wherever she is. No trash talking BYU, James. That's what I'm seeing in the chat. You're not allowed. King Blaze, what's going on? Familiar face, somebody we see consistently. What's going on, Juice? Appreciate you joining us. But
it does happen to be rivalry week. Excuse me. I'm just saying. But there's been imagery in our campus of every single Y on campus has been taped over
already. Okay.
Every single one. The Y in the at the front of the library. Any Y that exists in the building is no longer existent.
Dang. They don't mess around. I thought so. Is that the biggest rival? I thought they had a pretty good rivalry with some other teams too. But is that the biggest one?
It just the blood runs deep. That's the thing.
Okay. All right. I love it. What's going on, Sean, in the chat? Sean Pisker, the legend that is Sean. But all right. So let's get in. So basically,
and Doug starts at a good spot, Glenn, here, right? Because this is kind of what we're going to talk about today, keeping us all sane.
No doubt. Because this feels like this Ravens team is at a bit of a crossroads now. You know, some are already ready to count this team out at 1-5 and say there's no hope. There's no hope for a season turnaround. And others are saying, you know, that there is hope. There's certainly hope from what we've seen in their last performance with the injuries. You know, a lot of guys expected to return from injury who are important, you know, key contributors in this team. Also, others are saying, hey, we make one move, one trade at the deadline, one of the Eric DeCosta signature trades. You know, I believe it was 5 or 6 years ago today, the Ravens traded for Marcus Peters. And we know the turnaround that he made for this defense, got an interception in his very first week, ended up, I think, in 2.5 years, accumulating 8 interceptions over his time here. And the difference he made was more than just in the stat book, of course. Also the swag, the confidence he brought to the rest of that unit kind of elevated the play of those around him. And so some are saying, look, we're one move away. We're 1 5th-round draft pick trade away from getting back to where we need to be. So that's kind of what this show is going to be based around, the crossroads that the Ravens are facing and which direction Ravens fans think that they'll kind of take it here.
Yeah, I'm so looking forward to this. So let's dig into it, Glenn. Let's talk about the bad, the ugly. Let's go there, right? I want to point out a few tent poles of these people's arguments that they've been using. Look, I just want to say this. Everybody from local media to national media to everybody on Twitter, it's very easy to bash the Ravens right now. I get it. Everybody's upset. We're all disappointed. We're all very passionate fans. And there's a lot of things that people have been pointing to, right? And we're going to discuss these. But a few of them, of course, like you said, Glenn, the schedule itself, we're 1-5. The scoreboard is what you say you are. That's a problem. The other piece of it, and this is perfect time, by the way, in the bye week, we get an opportunity to take a step back and do this stuff. So the offensive line, there's been a lot of clips on the offensive line, Glenn, looking rough. You know, of course, the pass rush, we can't whiff a quarterback. Nobody on the Ravens defensive line knows what deodorant these guys are wearing. Right? I mean, it's not even close.
I don't know if they're wearing it, period.
That's what I was going to say. I mean, it's just, and the inability to stop the rushing attack on top of that. Right, they've just been having some brutal outings and showings from a rushing perspective, and then of course the injuries. Lamar, let's do it.
Yeah. Let's see where they're ranking both on offense and defense league wide. Let's see here, pulling it up right now, and I think it would give us an idea of, you know, whether or not. Let's see here. How do I get this up here? using somebody else's. Jimbo, help me out here. There we go. Okay. All right, so as you can see on the screen, we'll start on the right side, the defensive side of things. And, there's not a whole lot statistically that you can look at and be proud of as a Ravens fan. Opponents are scoring, 32 points per game, which is dead last in the league. Yards, they're 380, which is 29th. Points per play, they're 31st. Touchdowns per game, opponent touchdowns, they're 31st. Third down percentage, they're 28th, 44%, 28th in fourth down percentage, 29th in red zone scoring. So virtually every metric you look at defensively, they're performing at the very, very bottom of the league, either dead last or threatening to be dead last. And then what I guess you could be a bit of encouraged by is if you look on the offensive side of things, despite the fact that in Lamar Jackson's 2 games missed, the Ravens averaged 6 points a game. They're still 13th. They're still top half of the league, averaging 24. It just shows you just how far and away, they were when it comes to when Lamar was here, how well they were performing. Yards per game, 21st. That is dropping quickly and dramatically after Cooper Rush was inserted into the lineup. Yards per play, they're 12th at 5.7. Third down conversions, right in the middle, 40.5%. Red zone scoring. This is something the Ravens were so good at last year. 26th right now, 44.4%. And to be honest, that number wasn't great with Lamar here. If you guys remember some of their early season red zone struggles, were here even with Lamar. So, yeah, there's definitely reason to be concerned here when you look at what the Ravens did in the first few weeks.
Yeah, it's rough. It's certainly rough. And there's a lot of things to like you said, to point to, but ultimately it really comes down to what's going to happen next, right? And that's what we're here to, I think, figure out. I think that there's a few factions of fans, one that are just done. They've signed out for the season. It is what it is. And I'm hoping that if you're watching today, that you may get a modicum of hope back, or just may go right to the end of the bar. That might be what it ended up being, right? But like Glenn said at the beginning, there's only 2 ways this really goes. We end up with a lottery pick, or we're able to turn things around. So I want to talk about a few things here, and we'll kind of decide what we think will happen, right? I want to start with the schedule, and then we'll kind of talk about where the flexion points will be for what will ultimately happen. Now, you guys know we're on a bye. The next game is the Bears, and we'll start right there. Right now, the Bears are what? They're 3-2. Let me pull this up here, make sure I got this right. The Bears are, what's the Bears record? Why did I just have this up and now I don't have it? Let me pull this up here.
Let me see.
The Bears record is 3-2. I had it. See, I had it right to begin with. Jeez, a whiz. The Bears, of course, are our next opponent. Glenn, going into the Bears game, do you believe, number one, we will have Lamar Jackson?
Well, that's the big question, right? And not just Lamar Jackson, but also Roquan Smith. Tez Walker, Chidobe Awuzie to maybe lesser degrees, but both contributors to this point. But the most important one, like you mentioned, is Lamar Jackson. And I think nobody really knows the answer to that question. We have hope. Certainly there's a ton of hope. And I think that, coaches might say there's an expectation. But with soft tissue injuries like he has, being the hamstring, there's a lot of unpredictability there. We really don't know. And if we do have Lamar Jackson back, what percentage of Lamar is back? I doubt it will be a full 100%. Is it 80%, 90%? Now, either way, it's a huge upgrade under center. There's no doubt there, even if we have a 50% Lamar. But with the state of the offensive line, I think it is important. What's his mobility like? What's that hamstring looking like? Is it something he's got a baby? Is it, something where we won't see close to full speed from Lamar Jackson? That's the big question. I hope that he'll be back out there. But Jimbo, I don't really know. I don't know the answer to that question.
Well, I can give you the answer.
Okay.
Because you come here for the crystal ball, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
He's going to be back. And Lamar Jackson is going to be slanging that thing. Lamar Jackson, I feel, is going to be back. I think that this issue is going to be nipped in the bud here. And the bye week was a perfect time, of course, to give him that extra week of health. And this is the thing. When we're talking about which way we're gonna go, is it the tank or do we make a run, right? Is there any hope left? I would say if you're holding on to any hope, well, and if you guys have been watching the show before, if you hung out with us in the past, you know that, first of all, my emotional swings are ridiculous. Second of all, I was in the deep end here, right? Like, Glenn, you know that I think we were both feeling it pretty bad. And I'm pretty sure I'm on record saying, get rid of everyone except Bashadi and 8.
Yeah.
Right. I've started to circle back around because, look, number one, if we're talking about what the potential outcome would be, if 8 is under center, historically, he wins 72.5% of his games, something like that, no matter what his crew has been. So if Lamar is back, you're already starting to, I mean, that is the biggest piece of this pie.
Certainly.
You know, there's no way to slice this thing. Ultimately, if he's back and he can contribute, holy crap, it makes a difference for the defense, the offensive line, the rushing attack. Everything is positively contributed to. So I think he's back, Glenn. What'd you say?
Luke K calls him pooper flush.
Ugh, yeah, he's bad.
I haven't heard that one. That was good.
That is
Pooper
pretty
flush.
good. But so we'll say he's back. We'll say he plays the Bears. And let's play this scenario out. Let's play the scenario out where we win. Let's play a scenario out where we lose. Because that's ultimately what it comes down to, don't you think?
Absolutely. And week 9 is the trade deadline. So I don't think we really need to go a whole lot further than right there when we talk about what their next move is going to be.
Right. So let's play the first one out. We lose.
Oh, to Chicago. We lose.
To Chicago. We lose to Chicago at home. So at that point, you can assume we realize we're done for the season. And now
so that's the point. That right there. It's win or go home. Because that puts you at 6 losses, meaning the best you can possibly get to if you win the rest of your 10 games would be 11-6. Not likely you're going to win 10 straight. Not impossible, but I see your point. That's kind of the mode where you go, all right, are we going to start looking for next year and potentially trade any assets that other teams are interested in?
Right.
Or do we go, all right, what moves can we make to make up for the injuries that we've had and potentially patch some holes on this roster to make that run to win maybe 9 out of 11 games?
Right. And so we'll say first off that we lose. Do you think we automatically go into sell mode?
If we lose that game, I think that the question is what are people calling for? You know, are they calling for the Ravens players to make moves? Are they trying to make moves, or are they simply not interested? I think that's the big question. But I do think if the people are calling and they lose to the Chicago Bears, I think they'll make moves if there's interest.
Yeah, it's going to be really interesting to see. Okay, so if we start to sell, who are the sellers? There's been some rumors out there, right? Who are we selling off, right? The first name I'll throw at you is Keaton Mitchell. Do you think that that's real? Do you think there's substance there?
Well, we've seen that 2 teams have had injuries and issues at running back, and those 2 teams are the Patriots and the Chargers. I've heard linked to they're having interest in Keaton Mitchell. The Chargers, of course, had really a disappointing injury to their young rookie running back who was just starting to take off and kind of make waves. So they turned to some young guys in Vidal and Haskins. And if they're not happy, because the Chiefs right now are vulnerable, I'd say, to the Chargers. Like the Chargers have to look at that as, we got a shot to win this division. Even though the Chiefs are starting to get their groove back and starting to get some wins, especially beating some tough opponents as of late, I think the Chargers look at that as like, man, we can do this. We have a good enough team. We can do it. So I think the Chargers would be interested in Keaton Mitchell. His home run threat ability, his explosiveness, I think is attractive. And then the Patriots, they have fumbling issues up and down their roster when it comes to running back. And Henderson isn't, I think, who a lot of people were expecting the rookie to be. So I do think there's potential interest for Keaton Mitchell. And I got to imagine Keaton's pretty interested in potentially starting over. I mean, he cannot find a way onto the field. Even when the Ravens struggle to run the ball, he seemingly doesn't get the targets. And to some degree, I get why. I mean, you got Derrick Henry in front of you, and then you got a pretty good third down back and complement in Justice Hill. So I can see why he might want a fresh start. Now, it's not up to him. The interest has to be from elsewhere, and the Ravens have to think that it makes sense for him. But I do think Keaton Mitchell potentially could be moved if the Ravens continue to lose.
Yeah, I see him as unfortunately, I see him as what they're calling him, the odd man out in the backfield. So Is there any, I'm trying to think of who else we'd be selling, right? Like who else are you looking at? Is there anybody on the defensive side of the ball that gets people intrigued? Anybody in the secondary that, because we have a quote unquote spoils of wealth there in the secondary. Anybody offensively? The other name that comes to my mind is Mark Andrews. The Seahawks, I think, have shown interest. You said there's another team, I think, that has shown interest.
Yeah.
The Broncos. I think that, to me, that's the most real one. Yeah. I think the most real one is that Mark Andrews is on his way out because a lot of the timing makes sense. He's 30, last year of his contract. Team can pick him up that believes in him, which I think that there's a lot left on the tread. There's a lot of tread left on the tires there. And the team might want to get rid of a logjam to pay a guy like Isaiah Likely. I think ultimately offensively, the tight end seems to be less and less of a focal point of this offense, at least with Monken as the offensive coordinator in comparison to what it used to be. Now Mark put up good numbers last year, but we have these pass catchers that we didn't have in the past. So I think that's another one. Is there anyone else that you see me missing here as far as guys that we could sell off?
Man, I know that Rashad Bateman's name's been kicked around because there's been some teams that need help at wide receiver. But I don't know. The problem is there's a lot of competition at wide receiver right now with names being kind of flirted with. The Dolphins could potentially be sellers and getting rid of Waddle, which would make things tough for Rashad Bateman because everybody loves the speed that Jalen Waddle brings to you. But I do think Bateman has maybe some market. He's got a pretty friendly contract as wide receivers go. He's not being paid even close to top market value. And I do think his route running ability intrigues people. He does separate at a pretty high level in comparison to his peers. So I think he has, but I think you nailed it with Mark Andrews. I think Mark Andrews is definitely a candidate for the Broncos or other teams that need a reliable pass catcher. His time here kind of got soured. Like he kind of got soured on the fans after his performance in last year's playoff loss. And I think he might be welcome to a change as well. The disappointing thing to me is like Isaiah Likely's been relatively non-existent. And anytime we've really heard his name since returning from injury has been penalties. So that's kind of scary that if the idea is to trade Mark Andrews and then give a bunch of money to Isaiah Likely, it'd be nice to see a little more out of Isaiah Likely. Now, fairness to him, he hasn't had a quarterback, so I will give him credit, but it'd be nice to stop seeing his name when the flags are being thrown. That would be preferential in my opinion, but not a lot, Jimbo. Like I don't look around and go, oh, there's a bunch of guys we can trade. And even these two, like what's your take on what will be the possible compensation for Keaton Mitchell or Mark Andrews? Because some fans are going, oh, we'll get a first round, we'll get a second round. I'm looking at both of these guys as 5th to 7th round draft picks is what you're going to be getting in return. And it could even be a swap where we're simply trading up in a round. Like, do you look at any big value we could get back for these guys?
No, I mean, the market, you're in a buyer's market at that point, right? What leverage do you have? The teams will just say, okay, well, we'll just hold. Ultimately, we don't need, you need us. This is what you want. Ultimately, you've put yourself in the situation. Now you got to pay the piper, right?
Right.
So that's just what it is. It's a buyer's market. That's why it's active, and that's why it's a possibility. So, I mean, I guess there's an opportunity for win-win type scenarios, but I don't think we're pulling off a haul. That's for sure. The other thing I was going to say here, Glenn, is that this is what I think is the most likely scenario. If we lose, which I don't think we will, if we lose, I don't think we do a dang thing.
You think they just stand pat?
That's what it is.
Play it out.
Unless a deal comes through that Eric is like, okay, this is robbery, right? Like what else?
Which we've seen a lot of from Eric DeCosta.
Yeah. So, but I don't think that deal comes across his table because neither of those guys are compelling enough to really do that. Right. Not that they're not good, but I don't see that scenario. So let me ask you this question. Do we win? Do we lose?
Man, I mean, so much of it hinges on Lamar. I mean, we saw last week, even with the mild amount of success that Huntley had when he was inserted in the game, because Cooper Rush is a complete dumpster fire. This guy provides you virtually nothing. Like we already knew he'd give you nothing as far as mobility, and you'd have to completely change your offense in a lot of ways. to fit him in there, but we thought he might be better at distributing the football. And we've seen just errant pass after errant pass. It's been really
the
tough
one
to
last
watch.
week that just went out of bounds completely.
Just gives your receivers no shot to even try and make a heroic play when you're throwing the ball into the first row. But also with Tyler Huntley, yeah, we had some success. But if you look at it, a lot of it was just him scrambling, running for his life, and making something happen. I think he had one throw to Zay down the field a bit, which was nice to see. It was a nice throw, but the most of his success was found of him just running for his life and scramble plays. So that doesn't give me a ton of encouragement either. Like, oh, he's going to get this offense back on the right track. So it all comes down to Lamar Jackson. I'm willing to bet that he is out there, that he finds a way to get out there and be on the field for his teammates. And I do think we win the game. I don't think the Bears in their first year under Ben Johnson are any bit of a world beater. Now, the problem is they do have some weapons offensively. So I do think they have an opportunity to put up points. But they're also a little banged up in those weapons. So we'll have to kind of see what shows up a week from this weekend. And if they're still as banged up, because Rome Odunze's hurt, DJ Moore is banged up. But I do think ultimately the Ravens play Lamar Jackson and they find a way to win that game.
All right. So we agree here. So if we win, we got to talk about what happens next. This is a big, so this is where we hope you guys can regain some sanity. And I'm hoping that this ends up being the case, right? Not for a future letdown, but for a potential resurgence, right? Like a phoenix rising from the ashes. That is the Baltimore Ravens, right? So we win this game. We go, what, 2-5? 2-5. All right. And before we talk about what happens next, let's take a look ahead at this schedule really quick. I have this up here. The Baltimore Ravens are going to be playing.
I got it right here on the screen.
Oh, shoot. I forgot. You already had it up. Yeah. So then after that, of course, I just want to list these off quickly here, because you got Miami. I think they can classify it as a dumpster fire. Minnesota, good team. I think not great team, but good team. Right. Good football team. Certainly not a pushover.
Right. And we're on the road.
And it's in Minnesota. Cleveland, dumpster fire. I think it's fair to say good defense, divisional opponent, but they're not. I have no concerns about the Jets. No concerns about Cincinnati. So if you go through this list, guys, you can Pittsburgh, Cincinnati, New England, Green Bay, Pittsburgh. To me, Glenn, I want to get your thoughts. The three games here that I look at and I say, okay, is Pittsburgh in December 7th. If Joe Burrow is back.
I don't think there's any shot he's back.
Yeah. So
I'm going to say he's not back for those two.
But the three games are the two Pittsburgh ones, Green Bay.
Well, New England's playing a heck of a lot better football right now. That Drake May looks to be the real deal. They don't have a ton of weapons, but I would think the New England Patriots, that is not going to be any pushover.
Yeah. I can see that. For some reason, I just don't find myself concerned. Maybe I should. We are 1-5 nonetheless.
Yeah.
But as we kind of run through this, we beat Chicago. We become buyers then, right? We have to. Doesn't that flip the switch immediately?
Well, especially if you have healthy Lamar Jackson under center. And even to some degree, a healthy Ronnie Stanley might be just as important.
Right. I think that's an excellent point. So say we do win this game in convincing fashion. Yeah, we just win the game. We just simply win.
I think it does matter how they win. I think if they stumble and bumble their way to a 1-point victory over a bad Bears team, I don't know if that gives a ton of encouragement. But if they come out looking like the Ravens from last year, putting points on the board and getting some key stops defensively, then yeah, they turn into buyers. I believe it.
Yeah. So then what happens? Let's talk about this, right? Because the list becomes much longer when you're talking about buying. So there's a few positions that I think are identifiable, but the first one has to be pass rush. Yeah, I agree. It has to be pass rush. This is the biggest weakness on the team, and it just makes sense. I don't think the Ravens go into trading Odafe and go, this is purely addition by subtraction. Just getting rid of Odafe is going to make our pass rush better. I don't think that was their game plan. I do think that they used it as a way to not only get Gilman over here, who played well in his first time at safety, but also to clear out some additional cap space to eventually make a move to replace Odafe in the edge room. So I agree with you. I think that's a good point.
The Ravens have 14.8 million in available cap space as it stands right now. So they do have some room to add someone into that group who might have a bit of a price tag. So the first name that I've been seeing a lot in trade rumors, not necessarily with the Ravens, but in trade rumors at edge position, is Trey Hendrickson. I've seen Trey being kicked around at a lot of different places. Now, even though the Ravens or the Bengals just made an interdivision trade, one of the very rare interdivision trades, especially when you have a quarterback involved in that trade, they did trade Joe Flacco from the Browns. I don't think they're going to be in the business of giving Trey Hendrickson to the Ravens and giving them hope to get this season. So I'm going to cross him right off the list. I don't think, even though that'd be great. I mean, imagine having that guy. What an addition he would be, but I don't think that's going to happen. Next one, Dolphins, Bradley Chubb. They should be sell everything. They are a complete mess. I don't think if they would have had Tyreek Hill, I don't think Tyreek Hill would be on their team at the trade deadline. I think the only reason he's going to be there is because he's hurt. So I do think they're going to be sellers. I think there's a chance that Waddle's moved, Bradley Chubb, even Achane. I've heard rumors that people are kicking the tires on him. So him and Jalen Phillips, both from the Dolphins. Very easily could be trade targets, would be upgrades in our room, no doubt about it. And I'm just going to give you all of them, and you can tell me which ones you like. Also at the edge position, we have Chase Young from the Saints and Cam Jordan, both from the Saints. I think both of those guys have the potential. He's trying to point. Looks like Asmodeus, my guy, is in here. I appreciate it, but I'm not seeing what he's trying to point at. Maybe put it in the private chat, Asmodeus. Also, Jalen Phillips. And then on the interior D-line, which I think could provide some, pass rush, but also help stabilize the interior after Metabike goes down, is Quinnen Williams from the Jets and Jeffrey Simmons from the Titans, who just fired their coach and definitely are going absolutely nowhere fast. Let's see here.
Chase Young is trash.
Yeah, Chase Young is trash. Okay. All right. That's fair.
Low bar though. Group of guys we got pretty low.
You know what I mean? At least he has some pedigree being a pick. And then of course Raiders, Max Crosby always gets kicked around. I think it's too steep of an ad. I don't think the Raiders are looking to get rid of him. But man, how cool would that be if we got Max Crosby?
Yeah. So of course my wish list, guys, Glenn, of course, Max Crosby's number one. But I'm not going to lie. While I know Ravens remember the spit in Marchionda's face, I think Simmons would just be an animal here, dude. Having him on the inside, and he can apply pressure to the quarterback. Yeah. He can bring some leadership, some accountability to that unit. I think that would be a really strategic ad. And like you said, I mean, they've got to be in sell mode. How much longer are they going to wait and sit and watch this sinking ship? You got to get rid of everybody except Cam at this point. What else is there, dude? I just, I don't understand the benefit to holding. So those are my two guys. I think that Simpson is more realistic. I think the problem is that the Raiders should sell, but they're too dumb of a franchise to realize they need to sell.
Yeah.
Like, they're the people that you could stand here and stare at the sky and they'd tell you it's green, and you'd have to.
Well, Tom Brady's there now. He's a part owner. So maybe the GOAT can get these guys making some correct decisions first, finally.
Yeah. How good was Jordan as an owner?
That's a good point.
I don't have a ton of faith in that. You know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah.
I don't know. I wish him all the best, but it's hard to take your best of all time mentality and give it to other people.
Yeah. No, it is.
It's just difficult. You can't give somebody will. You can't give somebody, a desire. Right. Yeah. Exactly. So ultimately those are my two guys, but you mentioned some other edge guys that get me excited. Cam Jordan's aging. Did you mention what's his face from the Giants, the edge guy we were talking about before?
I didn't. The only reason I didn't mention any of the Giants guys. You're thinking of Burns, right? Or Thibodeau?
No.
Thibodeau.
I think they keep Burns.
I think you're thinking of Thibodeau.
Thibodeau, yeah.
The only thing is, I think they're in wait and see mode right now too. I think with Jackson Dart and with Scatterbo, they kind of believe there's a chance, especially if you look around in their division. That it's not like anybody's running away with it. The Eagles just lost 2 in a row. They're kind of floundering. There's some personality issues going on in their locker room. They might be saying, hey, this is a vulnerable division. Even the Cowboys, I mean, yeah, they can put up points offensively, but they can't really stop anybody. So, and then the Commanders, they're kind of losing games they didn't expect to lose, and Jalen isn't necessarily performing like they were expecting him to do in his sophomore season. So, I think that they're wait and see. But if they were to lose their next two, then maybe they do become sellers, and maybe Thibodeau is available. If Thibodeau is available, does any of the guys outside of Max Crosby, because of course, but do any of those guys alone make a big enough difference in your mind to turn the defense into at least a top half of the league?
So the other one I got to mention here, you talked about him at the top, Bradley Chubb, if I'm not mistaken, this year, he has, he has 4 sacks, has a forced fumble. It's only been 6 games. That's pretty dang good. I mean, he would be our leader in sacks.
Yeah.
From day one. So that one gets me pretty excited. I mean, ultimately, and of course, with Tavius Robinson going down for the season, that makes the move even more imminent if we are, or important and imminent if we are buyers. So, and maybe 2, like you said on our show, Glenn.
Yep.
So I that one gets me excited. I liked Jalen Phillips coming out, but I think if I'm not mistaken, he's battled a decent amount of injuries as of late.
He had so many head injuries in college. They were talking about forcing him into retirement. Yeah.
Yeah, right. I mean, he had to go from California to Florida where
they were like,
yeah.
You're
everything. I'm telling you, Florida's slogan should be everything's optional. Everything's optional, baby.
Yeah.
Like,
but to his credit, he's turned into a pretty good player. And,
he has
had a nice career, even with the question marks about his health. Yeah.
Yeah. But I feel like recently he's been, nicked up a bit. And so he's younger than he's a younger guy, I guess I should say, but certainly than like Kyle Van Noy. But those are the 2 that I think probably get me the most excited. Cam Jordan is good. He's experienced. I don't know what his production is like this year.
36.
Right. You know what I mean? Like how much punch does he bring?
Yeah.
Because the other thing too is that remember back in the day when Suggs would start out hot in the game?
Oh, yes.
And then second half, it was like,
that was towards the end. Yeah. But yeah.
But I think Cam Jordan is there.
Oh yeah. He's there.
You know what I mean? Like we need some fourth quarter juice.
Yeah.
So I don't know, but ultimately then, do you believe if we win the Bears game that a move at pass rusher is imminent, or do you think there's any way? I mean, ultimately there's a way, but I guess what I'm asking you is, what do you believe will happen? Do we make a move at pass rusher if we win this Bears game?
I think they do. I don't see why the Ravens would just be okay with getting rid of Oweh, who, even if he was underperforming, was playing a ridiculous amount of snaps at the edge position. I don't think they're just trading him away, again, just to trade him away or create that additional cap space that they're going to carry into next season. I don't think that was the game plan. And then Tavius goes down, who is, again, playing a ton of snaps. Ajabo, to me, is not a good football player. In any way is he a good football player. He doesn't do anything well, in my opinion, not even a specific thing that you can maybe keep him in. No, there's no role in which he plays well, in my opinion. So now you're left with, you're left with Kyle Van Noy, who's on the very back end of his career. And even though he's had a resurgence here, I don't think we're building around, a guy like KVN. And then you have Mike Green, who's being asked to do way too much. And while development is certainly in his face, like he's developing, I don't think we can expect him to make instant impact overnight, even though we may have before the season started, which was probably a little premature by us. So I do think that they're going to have to make a move. They kicked the tires on Drake Jackson, the former second-round pick of the Niners. He ultimately ends up signing with the Commanders. And here's the thing, like, this is why the Ravens didn't get him. I mean, I'm assuming he immediately gets put on IR for the Commanders. Is going to be missing the next 4 games. So the interest was there. They were kicking the tires on guys who were on the streets. So I think that, long story short, they are looking. I think they would make a move because all the signs are pointing towards them doing so.
Yeah. And then, of course, like I mentioned, Tavius going down as well just adds to the urgency there. But man, I think that there's a list. I think that a move is imminent, but there are other positions that I know you have on a list, Glenn, that I think we should discuss as well, because Eric doesn't have to make just one move. I think that there are some other strategic moves that may not. I think we agree pass rush is probably the most important.
Yeah.
And I think we also agree if the Ravens beat the Bears, I'm going to be on every show that we have beating on the desk until Eric makes a move. I will be absolutely flabbergasted and shocked if he doesn't.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, was that reaction like outsized, or do you agree?
No, 100%. You can't take away Oweh and not replace him, especially
Oweh
with
and Robinson
injury.
Now, dude. This is crazy.
Yeah, if there wasn't the Tavius injury, maybe you could have because he wasn't performing well, but neither is his replacement. Ajabo's not going to make anybody get excited. We do have some super chats here that we're kind of late on. So Dre Dog 679 says Roquan to the Niners,
assuming we sell.
Yeah, and assuming he's healthy, right? Like he has to get healthy first before a team's going to want to show interest in bringing him on. Yeah. But I see what he's saying. Fred Warner goes down. The kind of everyone puts him as the best linebacker in football, and Roquan has been probably the closest challenger to that title over the last few years. So it makes sense why the Niners, why Dre Dog is predicting that, and why the Niners would have interest. I could see that very much so, but he's got to be healthy. And the Ravens have to be in sell mode because I don't think they're going to get rid of their leader on the inside of their defense if he's healthy. And if they have a chance to win. Appreciate the super chat. Captain Hard says it's no reason we shouldn't be able to get to 500 after the bye, especially if our defense plays decent. The first 5 are the most important. Yeah, they certainly are. I mean, they're all winnable games in which I think the Ravens will be likely favored. If Lamar's playing, they will be favored to win those games. And they just have to kind of do what they're supposed to do. But yeah, there's no reason why they can't get to that goal. There's absolutely no excuse if Lamar's healthy and if Lamar's playing. No doubt about it.
Yeah, I think we kind of talked about this. The defense, I want to keep going down this road here, but the defense, to the super chat, did show some hope in the last game.
Yeah.
That there's a potential for things to like come back to center. I'm not saying they're going to excel or be great or be dominant or be the 2000 defense, anything like that. I was just talking to a guy that I work with, this great Giants fan. He said he's still not over that loss. And I said, hey, I just want to remind you that you did not score a single offensive point in that game. Just to remind you. But all that being said, I'm hoping this defense doesn't continue to give up 33 points a game. And I'm also hopeful that it can come down a bit. And then if it just comes back to center a little bit, Lamar does his thing, this offense does their thing, beating us becomes a much more difficult proposition, is what I would say. Now, to your point, Glenn, you said off air, like the last, key to the cog here would be the game plan. The game plan has to align. Lamar needs help. The offense needs help. Monken needs to kind of get back in his bag. But anyway, okay, so we have this opportunity. We have this window. We talked about pass rushers. Are there any other positions and or players think the Ravens should identify? I think you had some intriguing guys on this list.
Yeah, so, I think if we want to, switch sides of the ball, because I do have another on defense, but if we want to switch back to the offensive side of things, I think the biggest thing you got to address is the offensive line. That's really the only thing that looks talent deficient. Like, you don't have any issues with talent in the backfield. I don't think it's a talent issue on the outside at wide receiver, and I don't think it's a talent issue at tight end, but I do think we have some talent deficiencies on the offensive line. The one thing they can do without having to make a trade, and a lot of fans have been excited about this guy, is Emory Jones' practice window was open a couple weeks ago. He's been practicing in full as he returns from a shoulder injury. Now, Emory Jones didn't have any OTAs, didn't have any training camp, didn't have any preseason. And again, just started practicing 2 weeks ago. So essentially, he's still kind of in his training camp right now. But they don't have to make a move to allow Emory Jones to potentially challenge Faalele at right guard. And everything we've seen at right guard has been an absolute train wreck. I mean, he'll have maybe one decent rep where, somebody gets stuck in his belly button and he has no ability to knock guys off the ball when it comes to the run game. He barely can ever get to the second, never sees the third level. So I do think that could potentially be an upgrade. Now, it's a lot to ask from Emory Jones, right? Coming off of a shoulder injury where he's had no chance to get out there and work on his technique, build strength. It's a shoulder injury. It's not like it's an injury where he could keep lifting, no. You can't really lift when you're dealing with a shoulder injury, at least to build strength. You can build strength around it. You can rehab, but you're not traditionally building strength like you would have if you were fully healthy. So it's a lot to ask, but there's potential that they could upgrade. And I think that was their plan, to have him compete with Faalele. So That's one thing they could do. I did see that Braxton Jones, from the Bears is available. He was brought in to initially compete at left tackle, kicked inside to guard, and ultimately hasn't played a snap. Now, he's a former top pick, one of the higher picks. He's a big guy. So there's potential there. Same thing with the Giants, offensive guard and tackle, Evan Neal. But, Jimbo, there's not good offensive linemen being readily made available by teams. There just isn't.
There's
Even
one
bad
name
teams.
You haven't mentioned yet, right?
Who's that?
Zeitler.
Oh, yeah. I got him right on my list, and I missed him.
Dude, that's the name that gets me excited.
Yeah, and look, he's playing for a Titans team that, again, just fired their head coach, or he's going nowhere fast, and he's on a one-year deal. The only question is, do the Ravens look at him as like, man, you left us once. Like, you wanted more money. Like, I don't know what the contract negotiations were. Did they not offer, or did he feel like it was a lowball offer, and was he offended, and that's why he left? Because if there's any animosity, I don't see a reunion happening. But if they left on good terms, why not bring this guy back in? Why not bring a guaranteed bona fide stud at right guard? Now, he's older, and he's not what he once was, but I do think it's pretty clear he would be an upgrade. And I think the same will be said with the guard from the Browns. Let me find his name. I don't know why he's not on my list of ones I wrote down. So long story. Yeah, I think he's an option. Zeitler is for sure.
I think he is, to me, he is the A1 option. If there's any animosity, I think it's him towards us because we didn't sign him. I don't know if it would be us towards him, but I would love for that reunion to take place. I think it makes too much sense. Let's get you out of a terrible situation, get you back here. Let's get this comeback on, and let's win some friggin' football games, man.
Yeah, it could be. I mean, why not, right? Why not kick the tires on them? At least find out what their ask would be, because I think they're clearly still in rebuild mode, even though they may have found their quarterback, even though we might kind of still be waiting to see on Cam Ward. But yeah, why not? They're going nowhere fast. Now, another person mentioned with something we brought up in the past is, why is Corey Bullock not getting any run, any try? I mean, this guy was fantastic in preseason, albeit against mostly backups playing a vanilla game plan. But why not kick? I mean, he can't. How can it be worse than what we're getting out of Faalele? And really, to some degree, Voorhees has moments where it makes you scratch your head and be very, very frustrated. So both guards need improvement. And yeah, Bullock hasn't had the issues that Emery's had as far as injury and health. He's played all of preseason, played all of training camp. So I just don't get the reluctance to make any changes on the offensive line. Now, this is the same, like you mentioned, the same offensive line last year that performed well enough to get the Ravens to where they were, which was a pretty damn good football team, the best offense maybe in history when it comes to efficiency. So, yeah, I guess the question, is it because if Stanley's healthy, the line isn't, I don't think is so terrible that you can't get anything going. But if Stanley's not healthy, I'm ready to get rid of Joseph Noteboom and start getting Carson Vincent at least developing, because Joseph Noteboom is a complete disaster at left tackle.
Yeah, he's not a left tackle.
I don't think so.
He's just not an NFL left tackle. So I couldn't agree with you more there, Glenn. All right. So I at the end of the show, I kind of want to give closing arguments here, but before of course we get to that. So if we're buyers, we beat the Bears, we immediately become buyers, guys. So what I'm trying to say is that our path is still not far off. We will know in every game. Look, the fun thing is, guys, buckle in, because the Ravens, every single game this season is on the line. The other piece of this puzzle I want to talk about to hope bring some sanity and some hope back is, you kind of talked about, is just injuries in general, right? We know that Lamar is on his way back. We know that Ricard is looking to play as well.
Yep.
Right? Like, that makes a huge deal, because I forgot his name, but 83 couldn't block me. 84 can't block me.
It was bad last game.
Bad. And certainly, even when it's good, Patrick Ricard is simply one of one.
Yeah.
So what does he do? He improves Lamar's game. He improves the rushing attack. Everything. I mean, he does
the offensive line in a big way.
Huge way, right? Because he becomes an auxiliary piece, a Band-Aid to a lot of their mistakes and otherwise. So to your point, I mean, let's hope that the offensive line continue to improve, but also Patrick Ricard coming back. Do we know anything about Roquan at this point?
Well, the only thing we know is that it's a hamstring, and that's the tough part about Awuzie, Lamar, and Roquan is that they're soft tissue, and I guess the same thing with Marlon came back, but also Pat Ricard, it's a calf. These soft tissue injuries are so unpredictable, and they're so at risk of re-injury. Like it's like when you have a broken bone, it's not.
Yeah.
It's just not the same.
Seems to be more predictable.
Yeah, like you just don't know if they have a reoccurrence or a setback, they could be gone for the rest of the year. So that's the worry. It's like, man, you want to push these guys, you want to get them back out there as quickly as you can, but you also don't want to risk re-injury. And I think that's where they're at with Roquan. Like, and look, Teddy Buchanan, I think, has shown a lot of promise. I think he has great instincts. The guy can get you on the ground if he gets his hands on you. But it's a lot to ask from a fourth-round rookie to come in here and now be the green dot. I know that he's not always the green dot, especially if Kyle Hamilton's out there. Right. But to ask him to be the center of that defense is a lot. So hopefully Roquan can get back. But I think we're just not going to know until the Bears game, unfortunately.
Yeah, I agree with you there.
Do you think they could win without, like, if Lamar's back and hopefully Ronnie Stanley's back to being Ronnie Stanley and we don't have to rely on Joseph Noteboom. Again, please put Vincent out there. Done with the Noteboom thing. Let Vincent at least develop, even though we're going to have some moments we're going to go, oh, man, it's going to hurt. But at least he's got, there's hope. He's at least
the improvement,
developing.
Right. The hope is that the improvement is quick. Because he's so young, right? Like the rate of improvement is quick enough to where he can quickly be a more reliable piece than Noteboom.
Yeah, because Noteboom has reached his ceiling and is on the decline of his career at this point. After this isn't a guy new to the league. But my question is, if Roquan isn't out or is still out, but Ronnie and Lamar are back, and then whoever else, everybody who played last week is still back, do you think the Ravens can still win both against the Bears and against Miami?
I think, if I'm being honest, and I might just have too much faith here, I think it only takes 8 to win both of those games. I wouldn't say that against every opponent, but in those two scenarios, I think Lamar being back, we get the dub.
Okay. All right. And then that...
if you look at the guys, I know everyone will talk about, well, Lamar was here the first 3 games of the season, 3.5, whatever. Look at those opponents in comparison to the next 2 weeks after the bye, right? Like, I'm a bigger believer in the trajectory of those teams in comparison to the teams we have upcoming. So, I think in this scenario, 8 is what it takes, and I think he'll be back in a big way.
Do you think that there's any more moves at safety with CJ Gardner-Johnson was brought in, presumably not just because they didn't know they were getting Gilman. At least I didn't think it. I didn't look at it that way. Is it like once they got Gilman, they're done with CJ Gardner-Johnson or done with having an additional safety? I think there's still a perceived need there to add safety. So do you think the Ravens could be in the market for maybe, Patriots safety Kyle Duggar, 49ers safety Jason Pinnock? Do you think there's any more additions to safety that could help bolster the back end and further allow Kyle Hamilton to be, our nickel linebacker, dime linebacker, to be up near the line of scrimmage, to be the Swiss Army knife he was designed to be? Do you think there's any more additions at the safety market, either via trade or free agency?
I think that this is it. This is it for safety. I think that just for having Kyle kind of change positions, if you will, and having a steady hand back there, albeit not world beaters, but having a steady hand in place of Kyle having to do that and a million other things is going to make about as big a difference that we can realistically expect, because I think there's just other higher priority positions. Yeah, I tend to agree. I think what is attractive is just like, what's the upgrade? Let's say Roquan's out for longer than we're hoping and expecting. Is it better off to have more safeties on the field and get the linebackers off the field, especially in passing downs, and just run a heavy safety look, especially on third down or long passing down? I think that's what people are kind of questioning. They're like, well, maybe we can get Buchanan off the field entirely on third down.
I think that's why I've seen some other people still being linked as far as safeties to the Ravens.
Yeah, and for sure. I mean, I wouldn't say that it's not a need or something it would be great to have and would improve us, but I guess part of me is trying to say, okay, what can we realistically get done here? Like, it's great to say we can do X, Y, and Z, but we probably are only going to get X of this. You know what I mean? And the rest of them are just hopeful, wishful thinking that probably won't come to fruition. Kwame B says, whatever move we make has to coincide with a coaching change. We haven't developed a single player. That's an indictment on the coaches, not EDC. So Kwame, I would probably disagree with your point about the player development. I think we've got a decent list of guys that have turned into players in this league that were mid to late round draft picks. And even look, Lamar was a first round pick and he's developed into something. Now, a lot of that is on Lamar. But if you're talking about later round guys, mid round guys, I think we've got players that have turned into real contributors here. But a move mid-season coinciding with a mid-season coaching change, I don't see happening. And I also don't know if I agree that it's if we're truly buyers and we truly think we have a shot, I think changing the coaching staff isn't going to improve that right now.
Well, maybe Kwame means just not like a sweeping change, but maybe just a single change. Maybe just removing Zach Orr's play calling.
I'm okay with that. Do that all day, every day. I want that to happen 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, I think that was Kwame's more point. Okay, not fire the entire coaching staff and make a push. Make changes to the staff.
Right. Yeah, no, if that's the case, do it yesterday.
Yeah, because I just don't know how it can hurt. Like, you have guys in the building who have play calling experience. It's not like there's no one you could turn to. You have guys who have done it and done it at a high level and have far more experience than Zach Orr. Now, the question is, like, how much are they involved in the play calling? I think I think the problem is when bullets are flying around and things are like, I'm sure Chuck Pagano has a huge part in developing the game plan with Zach Orr. I think all those guys do. But the problem is when the bullets are flying, time is ticking. You got to make quick decisions. Is Zach Orr the guy to make those quick decisions to get the offense, the opposing offense, off the field in third down, fourth down? That's, I think, what Ravens fans have questions about. Is this the guy that in those quick decision moments is making the right call? Or is he constantly playing soft when he should be aggressive? You know, is he helping the defense or is he hurting the defense with his play calling in those key pivotal moments? Because that's what it's come down to coaching-wise to me. It's been all about situational football, and that's where we failed. Goal line, red zone on offense, third down on offense and defense. Like, we just can't get off the field, and we can't sustain on defense. We can't get off the field, and on offense, we can't sustain drives. So, yeah, I mean, I'd be fully in support of it. And again, I'm a Zach Orr guy. I just think we might need a different voice calling plays on game day. Yeah,
I can't disagree with you on any of those points. So, Kwame, if that's what you're saying, I agree with you there. Look, I want to close with this really quick. We got 5 minutes left, Glenn, and I just kind of want to rehash really quickly because for everybody that is concerned and on the ledge, I get it. Everybody that's piling on to the Ravens, talking about everyone from ownership on down and trashing the entire organization, not a fan of that. It's easy to pile on when everyone's losing, when we're losing and everyone's sick of it. And I get it. It's justified. Trust me. I've been plenty sick of it. But now that I've had some time to kind of sit and think here, it's on the players to perform. It's on the coaches to coach. And that's what they need to do here in against the Bears and so on. But I would say that our shot is still good. We are still in the fight. And I know it sounds crazy. We're 1-6. But guys, our schedule goes from one of the most difficult to one of the more easy schedules, right? You're telling me that 2 of our toughest games of the 3 remaining are against Pittsburgh Steelers with an aging quarterback who don't look real themselves. They have their own struggles themselves. They just had an easy schedule. And basically, as far as strength of schedule, is going to flip-flop with us. Mm-hmm. So who knows what condition they'll be in at that point. But outside of that, we have a lot of opportunities against bad teams to gain momentum, to gain steam, to gain confidence. Go into that Green Bay game with a lot of confidence. Go into that Steelers game the last week of the season with a ton of confidence. It's all out in front of us. We've got to execute. We've got to do it. Eric's got to make the moves. But I think all the things that people are using as negatives can be turned around. It is not unrealistic to think that, like you said, Glenn, the offensive line can improve. I'm not saying be good, but be serviceable. Obviously, like Lamar needs to come back. The coaching staff needs to coach better. The defense needs to level off. But those things are not outside of their possibility, right? Like it's not outside of it's not outside the realm of possibility here that those things can happen. So I would encourage everyone to take a breath. Right now, if we lose to the Bears, it's all over to me, right? Like it's done, over. Powder the baby, put it to bed because it's done.
Yeah.
But that's where I'm at, Glenn.
Yeah. So hope for one more game at the very least. And I think you're right. Yeah. If they can't come out of the bye, especially again if Lamar's healthy and beat this Bears team, then it might just be over, and the Ravens might just be one of the biggest sellers at the trade deadline. But like Jimmy said, we still have hope. It's all hinging on this Bears game. Got to win coming out of the bye. But I think that's going to be it for us, folks. Filling in for Bobby and Sarah on the Vault. It's been an absolute blast. Appreciate again them for inviting us out to help fill in a need here for them while they're out. But thanks again. And again, you can check us out.
Yeah.
Multiple times a week, at least 3 to 4 times a week. We'll be live on YouTube at 410 Sports Talk. And of course, we're always live every post game to get you through the wins or losses remaining on the schedule.
See you.
See ya.